Namaste. My name is Kirti, and on behalf of Himalayan Yoga Association, I welcome you all to this online teacher training course. I am a teacher here at Himalayan Yoga Association, and I will be taking you through the concepts and details of the human body and yoga altogether. Let's hope you enjoy this course. Let's start.
Namaste and welcome back to the online yoga teacher training course. In the previous video, we discussed what are the different names of these muscles, the skeletal muscles, depending on the kind of action they perform. These were agonists, antagonists, and fixators. Now, in today's video, we are further going to understand the different type of contractions that take place in the very skeletal muscles that we are discussing and which are of the most use to us as yoga teachers. But before we go ahead and do that, I need you to come and sit with me as we chant the Gayatri Mantra together. Simply adopt the Chin Mudra or any other mudra of your choice. It could be anything for that matter, whichever gesture you are most comfortable, whichever gesture you want to leave an effect on your mind and your body, adopt it. Sit straight. Lengthen your spine as it is. Roll your shoulders to the back. Close your eyes and allow your breath to slowly seep inside and seep outside as you inhale and exhale. Please remember that nothing else in this universe needs your attention at this very moment. You are doing exactly what you're supposed to do right now. And please appreciate these few moments of silence in everyday chaotic lives. Eventually, as you progress in your yoga journey, you will start understanding the importance of sitting with your own self. Slowly breathe in and observe the effect. And slowly exhale through your nose. Now, after you feel that you've gathered your awareness and attention, slowly bring your hands to your heart center, Namaskara Sthiti. Touch the heart center with the back of your thumbs. Keep the spine active, body stable, comfortable while active. If you know the mantra, you can chant it with me. Otherwise, you can always repeat it afterwards. Slowly breathe in. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Having absorbed the vibration and the effect of the mantra, you can start rubbing your palms. Cover your eyes with your palms. Massage your face. And afterwards, you can transfer this energy anywhere else you wish to transfer into any other body part. Once again, before you open your eyes, fold your palms, bow down to your fingertips and to the universal truth that surrounds you. With a few blinks, open your eyes. Welcome back. Namaste. So, there are various types of contractions. In fact, contractions are the only function of human skeletal muscles or even in animals as well. These skeletal muscles, as I've already told you in previous videos, are only capable of pulling. Pushing is not a property. Pushing is not an action that the muscles can perform. Only pulling is possible when it comes to the muscles. Contractions are basically the muscle increasing, decreasing while perform different functions, but at the same time, contractions are about application of force necessarily distributed from the set of muscles in order to make an action happen. There are two different types of contractions, isotonic and isometric. Isotonic contractions are the most common type of contractions that take place in our everyday lives, whether you're carrying groceries from the market, pushing a table, or lifting weight on your head. One way or the other, to make movements happen, to these contractions, the isotonic ones specifically, are taking place in your everyday life without you knowing it as well. The most common place where isotonic contractions happen is inside a gym, where people go to bulge up or to increase the muscle size and to increase the muscle strength. A simple example here is the example of bicep curls. Inside a gym, people who are working with bicep curls are holding a weight dumbbell in one hand, and while having the joint, the elbow and the shoulder joint fixed to the body, they're constantly extending and flexing the biceps in order to leave an effect on the biceps specifically. When the arm is extending, that means when the biceps are most relaxed, in that case, even though the contraction is still happening because the hand is still holding the body weight, that type of contraction is called as eccentric isotonic contraction. Simply said, it still involves movement of the muscles, it still involves contraction, that means the application of force is still happening at that time, but the muscle is not shortening or bulging up in size, instead it's extending. Also, what you need to understand is that eccentric contraction leaves the least effect on the muscle, or we can also say that the eccentric contraction does not have much effect in building the muscle size. The opposite of that contraction is called as concentric contraction. Now, the concentric contraction takes place every time you're flexing the bicep or bringing the weight close to your shoulder. If you've ever observed, then while the distribution of force is still taking place because you're holding weight in your hand, you are also feeling that the muscle size is increasing, is hardening up, and a lot of tension is produced in the primary mover, in this case, which is the biceps. So, the concentric contraction is the most helpful type of contraction that helps in building the muscle gain, the muscle size, and as well as in building strength. And that is why these combinations of eccentric and concentric isotonic contractions takes place inside the gyms, and they're mostly repeated in order to leave an effect on the specific body part. So these two types of movements, they are most effective when they are performed together and repetitiously. There is another type of contraction where the movement is not happening, but the application of force is still there. For example, you are holding a certain weight. Now imagine, let's take the example of the bicep curls again. You're holding the dumbbell in your hand, but you're not making any repetitious movements. You're simply holding the muscle in your hand. And that type of contraction is called as isometric contraction, which does not involve any movement, but the application of force still exists. At the same time, the length of the muscle still remains the same. That means the length of the muscle in the neutral state, even though the muscle will be contracting, the force will be applied, but the bulging and the extending of that specific muscle will not happen. That type of contraction is called as isometric contraction. Now, while the isotonic contractions are most helpful in case of healthy people who are trying to increase the muscle mass, isometric contractions are most helpful in case of therapy patients who are mostly suffering from joint problems, namely osteoarthritis. In osteoarthritis, as I've already told you, and a lot of you must also be aware, that the joints of the certain human parts, the various joints of the human body, they start grinding against each other. The different bones that come together to form these synovial joints, they start grinding, creating inflammation, pain, and restricting movement just because of the same reasons. In that case, constant repetitions is going to be a challenge for someone, and that is why it is suggested as a part of therapy that they simply do isometric contractions. That means just holding weight while still not moving the body part or the synovial joint active in that case. Why? Because even though isometric contractions do not really have any movement or the length of the muscle remains unchanged, but still the distribution of force still takes place, which means that the muscles involved in making that isometric contraction will gain some sort of health, will gain at least a little bit of strength and at least a little bit of stability around the joints. That is why isometric contractions make sense in case of people who are mostly suffering from arthritis or fractures, some dislocations or fractures, problems associated with the joints. Once again, two types of major contractions, isotonic, isometric, two types of isotonic contractions, concentric and eccentric. Concentric contraction is this type in which the muscles are moving at the same time, shortening while contracting in order to make the movement happen. Eccentric contractions are the types where the muscles are moving, but they're lengthening instead of shortening in case of while still contracting to make the movement happen. Eccentric contractions leave least effect when it comes to muscle movement, while concentric contractions are the most effective when it comes to building muscle. Most common examples are workouts in gyms. Isometric contractions are the contractions wherein the movement is not happening, but still the muscles are distributing force in order to lift a certain weight. Imagine holding a certain body weight in a certain position and not making any movement happen at all. In that case, you'll see that you start experiencing stress, and that does not involve any movement. That does not involve any change in size of the muscle involved. Mostly helpful in case of people who are having problems associated with their joints, namely osteoarthritis, which is the most common example. This is everything you need to know about the different type of contractions that take place in the human musculoskeletal system. I hope you found today's video informative. I will come see you again next time. Until then, thank you and namaste.